Hi, welcome to UCO's Spelling and Grammar Refresher. Today I'm going to talk to you about when to use capital letters in a word. We're living in a world of autocorrect, predictive text, text speak, and other informal writing in general. So this is a refresher to get your writing back on track for the more formal nature of university level writing. It's also a refresher for anyone who is feeling a bit rusty with their spelling and grammar skills, or anyone who's feeling a bit unconfident with exactly what the rules are. And of course, it's for people who don't have English as their first language. Very often, the rules that we have in English for capital letters might be different from your own native language. So let's get started and look at the different reasons and categories for using capital letters at the beginning of a word. The first and the most common is the thing that you use nearly all the time. First names and surnames will always have a capital letter at the beginning of the name, but also titles. Now, in day-to-day life, we often use Miss, Mr, Mrs, Ms, but in university, you're more likely to come across doctors and professors. So if you are ever emailing a doctor or a professor or a Mr and Mrs, make sure you include their title. Personal pronouns, the letter I. If you're talking about yourself, always with a capital I. Now, at university, we always expect you to write in the third person for essays. However, there are some courses at UCO particularly that do reflective writing, and generally you will do that in the first person using I and of course we. This, of course, make sure you check with your lecturer before you continue with that. But as a general rule, reflective writing will tend to be using the first person and therefore the personal pronoun. The next category, part of sentences, will always have a capital letter, no exceptions. Marking the end of the sentence, which we'll look at in a different video, are full stops, question marks, or exclamation marks that will always precede the capital letter. The next category, days, months, years, festivals and holidays, they will always be capitalised. Make sure that on some of them, such as New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, Christmas Day, it will always be capital letters for all of those words. But of course, a common mistake that people make is seasons are not capitalised. Cities, counties, continents, languages, the first letter is always a capital letter. Similarly, places, monuments, tourist attractions, famous places, other buildings and statues. There may be times in your essays where you need to refer to places like that. It will usually be with a capital letter. Things like the Taj Mahal, in this case the Eiffel Tower, Buckingham Palace will always be capitalised. Likewise, big locations, mountain ranges, famous rivers, the Nile, the Amazon, the Alps, the Atlantic Ocean, the Mediterranean, national parks, the Lake District, etc. They will all be capitalised because they are proper nouns and proper places. Now, in academic writing, we're often using acronyms and initials, whether it's in business studies and you're using the initials of a business, or acronyms about different organisations, the UN, NATO, the BBC, anything like that will always be in capital letters, unless, of course, the particular brand and the way that they write it doesn't. For example, the DFES, the Department for Education, they write it as capital D, small f, capital E. That's just the way they write it, but you will see that within their documents and you just need to mimic that. But as a general rule, 99% of the time, acronyms and initials are in capitals. Now, you'll be referencing a lot in academic writing. So books, journals, magazines, if you're doing anything creative, movies, songs, dances, for those in theatre, TV series, if you reference those, and anytime you write them down, we will usually put them in capitals. Now, as you notice with this title, The God of Small Things, you'll notice that of is in lowercase. And this is very common. Usually the main words like the nouns, the verbs, the adjectives, and in this case, God, small things, will be with a capital letter. The smaller words like of, the, a, in, etc., we often write them in lowercase. It just looks better. And finally, particularly those doing business studies and marketing, etc., companies, businesses, they will always be capitals because they are a proper noun, they are a proper thing. Unless, of course, it's a brand that writes it in lowercase. An example of this would be something like eBay. Okay? But you will see that within the work that you do when you're doing research on that particular company. Okay, so thank you very much. These are the different categories for capitalization. If at any time you have any queries or any questions and you want any extra support with your grammar and your spelling or any other area of academic skills, please contact us at asc@oldham.ac.uk.